Hi everybody, this is Mr. Corzine. I told you I'd record these notes for you. It's the second part of section 6.4 in your book, Solving and Graphing Compound Inequalities. So why don't we jump right in and we'll start with our first set of problems. Compound inequalities are just, they're basically two inequalities kind of smushed together. Here we see our first example, and really what we need to do is we need to solve this one. It says 30 is greater than or equal to negative 7x minus 12 is greater than 16. We have to get x by itself, but because this inequality is a compound inequality, that means there's more than one of them. So we're going to try and solve them all at once. Let's see if we can do it. Negative 7x minus 12, if we want to get x by itself, we have to add 12, but not just here. We have to add it on the other side here and on the other side. These are what would have been my equal signs before. Now they're inequality signs. If I do all that, sorry about my lines that aren't very straight. I'll change colors. And now I've got 42 is greater than or equal to 7x is greater than, I'm sorry, that should be a 2. It's greater than 28. All right, now I'll switch colors again just for fun. Now I need to get x by itself by dividing by 7. So I do that on all three portions. This cancels out. Now x is here in the middle. I've got 6 over here on this side and 4 on the other side. I'm not going to graph this at this moment. I think you guys can handle that. X is in between 6 and 4 on the number line. So going over here to number 2, negative 15 is less than or equal to 5 times the difference of 3p and 2, and then that's less than 20. The first step for me before I even start solving it is I have to use the distributive property here to expand this a little bit. So this is actually 15p minus 10, which is less than 20. It's also, here's my less than or equal to symbol, negative 15. Change to a different color, back to purple. I'll now, I'll put my lines here to show where I'm dividing up my different sections. I'm going to add 10 on all three parts. So I'll get 30. This will cancel out to make 15p, and I'll get negative 5 here. So my new inequality says this. And I'll switch back. We'll do blue this time. I'll divide by 15. This will cancel out. Now p is all that's left in the middle. And I've got my less than or equal to sign. I've got negative 1/3. Please don't use your calculator to spit out a repeating decimal. You can just simplify that fraction. And then I've got 2 over here. So I've got negative 1/3 is less than or equal to p is less than 2. And the only thing that I haven't done is for any of these, did I have to switch my symbol? As in, did I need to go and switch around my my inequality symbols? I go back through. Did I have to divide by a negative number here? No, that was a positive 15. Over here, I think we were supposed to divide by a negative 7. You see that? I think we left that off of there. So this was a negative 7 to start with. We should have divided by a negative 7. So now I should have a negative 6 and a negative 4. And these symbols should have been switched around. So in the end, this inequality should have said negative 6 is less than x and is less than negative 4. Okay. Those are my solutions, guys, for the first two problems. These are compound inequalities that need to be solved, and we just solved them. Way to go. For our next problem, Same thing, another compound inequality. But this has an or statement. So it's actually, we're going to actually solve these two separately. Here we go. We got 1/2 times the sum of x and 18, and that's supposed to be greater than 6. Many of you guys have gotten really good at the distributive property. So you're going to go through and you're going to use the distributive property and multiply times 1/2. I would recommend that maybe you do something a little bit different. Instead of jumping in and multiplying, I think you should consider maybe canceling out this 1/2 to make our problem a little easier. If I want to cancel out 1/2, I have to multiply times its reciprocal, which is 2/1. Well, 2/1 is really just 2, right? So I multiply times 2 on both sides to cancel these out. And my new inequality says, or my simplified inequality says, x plus 18 is greater than 12. See what I did there? I multiplied times 2 on both sides, and we simplified things down. Now I'll just subtract 18 to get x by itself, and my inequality says x is greater than -6. Okay, there's one side. On the other side, I've got 7x plus 5 is less than 51. I'll change colors to help out and make things a little bit more clear. I have to subtract 5. I'm sorry, that should be a -51. So I'll subtract 5 to make 7x is less than -56. Use red this time. I'll divide by 7. Cancel that out. Now x is less than -8. Okay, so my solution says x is greater than -6, or it's less than -8. If I make my number line, and I'm going to make a really simple number line. I've got a -6 and a -8. I'm going to use my -8 here. I'm going to put my -6 here. And when I change my colors, make things stand out a little bit, I have an open circle. X has to be less than -8, so it's going to go this way. And x has to be bigger than -6, so it's going to go that way. Remember, if we have an open space in between our two graphs, open means or. So the two lines are going in opposite directions. Let's move on. We've got these verbal sentences. It's written in words, and we need to be able to translate. Guys, I gotta tell you, this is super duper important. You need to learn how to recognize and translate these phrases. So we're looking for clues along the way. So here we go. I'm going to underline things to help make it a little bit more clear. 3 times. 3 times means 3, and then I'm going to multiply. So here we go. Let's keep going. Then we have the difference of x and 4. Well, x and 4 are important. Those are going to be 2 of my terms. And I need to find the difference. That means subtract. So all together here, I need to do 3, and then I'm going to multiply times x minus 4. Now, I could do it like this, but that would be unclear. That would say 3 times, I would have to do 3 times x first, and then subtract 4. But that's not what the sentence is telling me. It's telling me that I need to find the difference of x and 4 first. Then I'll multiply. So I'm really going to put these inside of parentheses to make that make it go in that order. So here it looks like we're going to have to use the distributive property. So 3 times the difference of x and 4 now is greater than or equal to -8. Well, I know what to do there. I'm going to write a greater than or equal to sign and then a -8. Perfect. The only part that's confusing, or that can be confusing, is it now says, and it's less than or equal to 10. Well, what's less than or equal to 10? Is -8 less than or equal to 10, or is it all this other stuff? I would recommend that maybe we could go back through, and some of you know we did this in class. we can say all of this right here, 3 times the difference of x and 4. We could give this a name. We could give it a name. Now, I'm just going to give it a generic name. I'm going to say Bob. Instead of saying 3 times the difference of x and 4, I'm just going to say Bob and see if that helps make things more clear. Bob is greater than or equal to -8 and less than or equal to 10. Well, that does make it more clear for me. I think that's making it sound like Bob is, well, he's greater than or equal to -8, but he's also less than or equal to -10. Now, I think what I can do is I can move these things around a little bit. Why don't I erase this? And that didn't work. Let's try that again. Why don't I erase it and instead put the greater than or equal to on the other side. So let's do, it's greater than, but I'm going to make it backwards. Greater than or equal to -8. So -8 is on the low end. And then Bob is also less than or equal to 10 on this end. So Bob is bigger than -8, but he's less than 10. I get it. Now I'm going to switch back and write this like for real. I don't want to use Bob anymore. I'm going to write 3 times x minus 4. That's less than or equal to 10. It's also greater than or equal to -8. At this point, I can go and solve it. I'll do this really fast. I'm going to multiply both sides times. I could divide both sides by 3, but I'll just use the distributive property to make this 3x minus 12 is less than or equal to 10, greater than or equal to -8. I'll switch my pen, do a different color. I'm going to add 12 now. Okay, this cancels out. I now have 3x. I've got, what is this, 4. And this one is 22. Well, this one's going to turn out a little funny, but it's okay. We don't have to be afraid of fractions. We can divide by 3 everywhere. And now, x is going to be bigger than 4/3, or equal to it. It's going to be less than or equal to 22/3. Now, I think sometimes we should fix this. We don't have to leave it as a mixed number or as an improper fraction. This is 7 1/3. Okay? You guys see what happened here? We had to translate it. Then we had to decide where everything goes. We put it into an inequality, and then we had to solve it. Now, finally, we could graph it if we wanted to. I'm going to move on to our next slide. In this next slide, I just want to point out that for number 38 on your homework, look at example number 6. If you do that, you'll have the important info that you need to solve the problem. If you don't look at number 6, then you will not know what to do, and you'll think, oh man, Mr. Corzine is so mean, he gave me this problem and I don't know how to solve it. Well, there's your answer. That's how you're going to get your help. You're going to do homework on page 384, starting on 384, 8 through 26 evens, and you got to do 38, 48, and 50. I will see you tomorrow in class. Hope you guys have a good night.